In today's video, we're going to be going over the current conditions, diving into all of that tropical activity that we have going on in the Atlantic Ocean. We'll be talking about some cooler air that's on the way, as well as some other interesting things in the upcoming pattern. Let's just get straight into things. We are obviously taking a look here at our current conditions. First off, we have some showery activity on our very western end of our precipitation here. Very, very spotty throughout this large area that I just circled in. We see that there's a little bit more persistent precipitation happening underneath here for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and heading into Louisiana as well. That's kind of our most stormy region of the United States right now. And then offshore of the southeast and a little bit onshore as well, we have this storminess going on for the Gulf Coast as well as the southeast coast there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at these different areas of showery activity. We can tell that everything going on here in Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona here is all lighter activity, thankfully, so maybe some sprinkles around. That's pretty much the most we're taking a look at. Now, there is some heavier areas here in Nebraska. These are kind of breaking up as we speak, but these have been heavier at times. We can see for western regions there of the state of Nebraska there and even South Dakota, we had some lighter showers even heading into the northeastern corner of Colorado here as well. Those have been a bit lighter than the areas further north. And then we can see for Minnesota, there's been off and on showers. They were heavier earlier on. They've pretty much dissipated at this point, but they could come back, obviously. We see areas in Iowa and Wisconsin seeing some more moderate precipitation in here as well. Pretty persistent as well. Hours of rainfall looking to be possible with that pocket in there. Now, for this very, very heavy region, we can see that this is definitely our biggest storm system in the United States currently. We see Missouri, Arkansas seeing this very, very persistent storminess in here, moderate to heavy precipitation in the oranges and reds, even down into the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in Texas. We're seeing some of that activity going on as well. And then even southwestern Texas, we see quite a bit of showery and thunderstorm activity happening in that region also. Now, for the Gulf states, we can see that there is plenty of storminess threatening these coastlines along our Gulf of Mexico coast here in the United States. Definitely Texas is being impacted currently, as well as some regions there in Louisiana. But definitely Florida, Mississippi, Alabama can't be ruled out for later on. And actually, Florida, there's quite a bit of heavier areas of this storminess offshore currently that could move onshore at any point. Now, we can see the east coast of Florida is seeing some storminess take place here, kind of just to the east of Orlando. There we have this storminess, but this is kind of an everyday occurrence here in Florida. Nothing unheard of for sure happening there. We can see for the southeast, there is some thunderstorms making their way onshore. They're pretty spotty there for the mid-Atlantic and southeast. And that about covers everything going on in the nation right now. Still a bit quieter, I would say, for most of the United States. The biggest thing going on here is Texas, Arkansas, Missouri. A lot of that storminess taking place up there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on, focus in on the upcoming pattern as well as that tropical activity. Now, here we are taking a look at the upcoming storminess. We can see that by the time we're reaching this afternoon, again, a lot of that storminess is going to be occurring in here. We do have a tropical system near Mexico, as well as a bigger storm system there in Canada also. Let's just move this towards Saturday afternoon or tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, and we can see a lot of our activity is in the southern end of things still, kind of the south central and southeastern United States. This seems to be the trend that's going to try to continue on. Sunday looking a little bit more stormy further northward here. I'd say most of these areas seeing some storminess. And then for Monday, which will be September 5th here, we can see up and down the East Coast, back down through the southeast and south central United States. We're seeing that storminess once again taking place there. Now for Tuesday, September 6th here, we see plenty of storminess taking place throughout the south central, southeastern, and northeastern United States. So you can tell the trend by now that there's definitely some storminess expected for a lot of the southeastern United States. We saw that on yesterday's model run, and it's holding true today as well. Still, up and down the eastern United States, seeing that storminess by the time we're reaching Wednesday, September 7th. Thursday, which will be September 8th, an interesting thing is happening. We do have a 992 millibar low pressure center right here, and this is causing some storminess here to reach into kind of our Rocky Mountain region, and this is the area where we saw that potential snowstorm yesterday, looking a little bit more minor on today's model run, but definitely things could change for that area. Potential snowstorm looks to take place. We do see that there is some storminess happening here in the southeastern United States, and we do have this tropical system here over Mexico still. Friday, We see this storm system lifts off as a 997 millibar low pressure center. We see the southeastern United States still dealing with that persistent storminess. This is again Friday, September 9th. This tropical system is moving northward, could impact the Four Corner states. And then for Saturday, which will be the 10th of September, we see this is impacting southern Arizona there, that tropical system. The eastern United States dealing with plenty of storminess. And we do see that this low way up north in Canada is causing a bit of a cold front to develop. So we have a lot of interesting things taking place. Sunday here, September 11th, we see storminess for a lot of the eastern United States. This tropical system, the remnants at least, still causing some havoc there in the southern Four Corner states. And then we see a bit of this snowstorm here still for the Rocky Mountains. Now, for the total precipitation through the next 10 days, no surprise that a majority of this is happening in the south central and then the eastern United States. If you're anywhere in the whites, we expect practically no precipitation. Your grays will be about 1/10 of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues will be 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. And then your reds will be 2 to 5 inches of that precipitation. We can see the Gulf Coast all the way up the eastern United States expecting those elevated amounts of rainfall there in those red regions. And we even see some browns and grays mixed in there. And those are all the areas where we're expecting 5 to 10 inches of precipitation, which is obviously going to be just a ton during a 10-day period. That's going to be 1/2 an inch to an inch per day on average over that 10-day period, which is going to be just insane amounts of that rainfall. Now, let's just dive into the temperature pattern here. We can see we're getting right into it, and we're already dealing with some cooler air around here for the weekend into early next week. This is by the time we're reaching Monday, September 5th. We can see plenty of this cooler air as this Arctic air mass has now basically dived down into the eastern United States. We're not seeing as far below normal temperatures as originally anticipated, but it still is an Arctic blast. That Arctic air mass has moved down. It's just not as intense. But I've talked about it time and time again. The intensity does not matter. What does matter is that an Arctic air mass has blasted down to the eastern United States. That has taken place just as the models indicated. We do see that there is still a positive PNA out in the west, but this is actually going to eventually move out. We'll see that on this model run. By the time we're reaching Friday, September 9th, we can see a lot of warm air out west and some cooler air out east in general, so that cold air mass still kind of taking hold here by that time frame. But it's by the time we're reaching about Monday, September 12th, this is when we can really see a lot of this warmer air working its way into the eastern United States, and we see a negative PNA trying to take place here with primarily colder air out west. So in the opposite pattern where the cold is going to move towards the west, and then this warm air mass is going to be forced eastward. Very, very interesting pattern we find ourselves in. And this takes place for quite a while. It lasts all the way till about the 17th, where we see a massive Arctic blast working its way through here, as we do have that positive PNA redeveloping. I'll show you guys where that is, right out here. So we can tell positive PNA taking hold, and it's forcing that cold air to move around that warm air mass and dive back down into the eastern United States. There's probably a low somewhere up here to the north, and definitely a cold front. We can see the boundary there moving down. So there is some warm air really working its way up the east coast here on the 17th, but my bet is by the 18th here, the very, very end of the model run. Yeah, we see this cold air has really taken hold here in the eastern United States and probably is going to beat out this warm air that still stands along the eastern seaboard. But that is the end of the model run, so take it with a grain of salt. But that is all we get to see on this model run. Definitely appears like there's still some cold air masses left over after this one that we're currently in that are going to move in. Arctic blasts seem to be the trend moving forward after we get through that negative PNA pattern that the GFS calls for here temporarily. Definitely only time will tell. We could just stay in a negative PNA. That's definitely happened before, where we see these cold air masses long out and then they don't end up happening like that. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. Now, let's go ahead and move on and talk about that 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Here we are taking a look at it. As we can see, Tropical Storm Danielle has developed there in the middle of the northern North Atlantic there, I would call it, and it is expected to potentially head towards Europe, which is going to be pretty concerning. We can see it's at 70 miles per hour sustained winds, definitely knocking on the door of hurricane status, definitely a possibility. 70 miles per hour sustained winds. Definitely a stronger storm there, to say the least. We do have a code yellow here in our main development region. This storm is just totally fizzled out here, this one. 10% chance over the next 48 hours and a 10% chance over the next 5 days. That's definitely much lower than its peak when it was showing like 40 or 50% chance of development in the 5-day period. It's dropped significantly since then, and this has been definitely a storm that has lowered in probability quite rapidly. Now, our biggest threat here, obviously, is going to be this one here, where we have a 50% chance of development over the next 48 hours and then a 70% chance of development over the next 5 days. I can't help but notice that this one has been slightly lagging behind in intensity compared to what was expected. Definitely something that could lead towards a more southeastern track. The stronger the storm gets, the more it's going to want to curve out early on. The weaker it stays, the more it's going to want to just ride there right into the Bahamas, potentially pose a threat to the United States. Seeing it slowly develop compared to what's expected is a little bit concerning here, and the models have trended a little bit further southeast with this one. It will take longer than originally anticipated if it was to potentially pose a threat to the United States. Could be talking a week or even 10 days from now. Definitely a slow mover here. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about that spaghetti model guidance. So as you can see, compared to yesterday, there's actually more models calling for this trajectory. If you watched all of yesterday's video, we talked about all of these things. It has been interesting to see a couple more models join in on this track, which would definitely put not only this kind of southeast and mid-Atlantic area at risk, but especially here in the southeast that's off screen at this point. So Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, those areas as well. Could see this, something with what this green track is showing, could see this be an Outer Banks special type storm where we really get a close impact with that area and then kind of curves back out. We could still see this one intensify quite rapidly and curve out to sea, and obviously that's what everybody's hoping for at this point. Definitely the cone would be like this for this group of models. But there is just a concerning group of models that are doing this still, and we need to wait and see. We definitely don't have any answers, because if you were to draw a cone on what's expected, it would look something like this, which is absolutely insane and definitely can't really get much useful information out of this. The only thing we know is a lot of different things are possible at this point, and there's not much else to speak of on it. So it's going to be one that we're going to have to take day to day here. So tune in with us daily, as we will track the storm daily. Be sure to like the video if you did, and leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.